cry was really weak. It was so weak that it almost got lost in the wind. The wind was pretty loud. The cry was just a tiny sound. The cry from the person was very faint. It was almost like it was not even there because of the loud wind. The time was just before the sun came up, when the Crimson Palace was really quiet and even people who lived forever were not sleeping soundly. There was frost over the black stone walls of the Crimson Palace. It looked like something was covering them up. The dirty yard behind the part of the Crimson Palace was empty. It was like a big wound that people with money did not want to see. Lyra Vale was really tired. She had been going all day. Lyra Vale just wanted to rest now. Lyra Vale felt like she had no energy left. Her fingers felt numb because she was scrubbing floors all the time. These floors would never be clean enough. Her back hurt from bending down much. She was a maid. She was poor. She was quiet. She was invisible. People would talk over the maid. They would walk around the maid. They would blame the maid when something got broken. The maid was the kind of girl that people did not really see. The head steward told her to empty the bins before the sun comes up. He had given her a cart that was all rusted and said, "You need to do this job quickly. If you are slow again, do not come back to work here." Lyra did not answer. She never gave any answer. She pulled her shawl tighter around her. Then she pushed open the big iron lid of the largest trash can. The waste container was really big. She had to push the iron lid to open it. The largest waste container had a heavy iron lid. Then the woman just stopped moving. She was really still. The woman did not say a word. The woman just froze. There, half buried in ash and broken glass, was something wrapped in blood-soaked royal silk. "Baby." Lyra said no over and over again. She whispered it. Lyra dropped to her knees without thinking about it. The baby's skin looked really pale like the moon. The baby's lips were a blue. The baby's tiny fingers were trying to grab something, but there was nothing there. Lyra could feel the baby's heart beating fast and weak under her hand. Lyra felt the baby's heartbeat, and it was like a small bird fluttering. It was very faint. "Oh my God," she said slowly. Her chest felt really tight. The person she was talking to, they were alive. She put her hands into the dirty stuff, not caring that sharp things were cutting her skin, and she picked up the child and held it against her chest. The baby made a cry. It was so quiet you could hardly hear it. Lyra wrapped her shawl around the baby, holding her close, trying to give her some of the little warmth Lyra had. The baby was cold. Lyra wanted to keep her warm. Lyra did not have warmth to give, but she tried her best to share what little she had with the baby. "Stay with me," she said quietly, and it sounded like she was begging. "Please do not go to sleep. You cannot sleep here." The woman ran. She was running. The woman kept running. Her boots slipped on the stone as she ran really fast towards the servants' entrance. The sound of her heart beating was very loud. She was running to the servants' entrance and her heart was beating fast. It felt like it was going to jump out of her chest. "Help!" she cried. "Someone please help me. I found something. I really need help with it. I found a thing. It is really scary." The shout just stopped fast. "What have you actually done now? You have really done something. I want to know what it is that you have done." The voice was really sharp. It sounded like something from a play. It was full of horror, but it did not feel very real. It felt like the person was just pretending to be scared. The voice was like someone who was acting in a movie trying to sound horrified. It was not very believable. The horror in the voice felt like it was practiced, like the person had said those words many times before. Seraphine Drax, the high caretaker of the Crimson Palace, was standing there with torches around her. The light from the torches was shining on her. She had her hand on her chest like she was really surprised or something. The Crimson Palace was a deal to Seraphine Drax, and she was the one in charge of taking care of it. The woman had sentinels behind her, and now these armored sentinels surged forward. Seraphine was really upset. "You are a murderer," she yelled. Then she shouted, "Guards, come and take her away." "No," Lyra said fast. "You have to listen to me. The little girl was in the trash. She was dying. The little girl was all alone. She was dying." A hand in a glove grabbed the baby from her arms with such force that her wrists hurt very badly. The hand in the glove was very strong. It pulled the baby away from her so fast that it made her wrists feel like they were on fire. The baby was taken from her arms by the hand in the glove. The guard told the rat to stay and not move. "Do not move, rat," the guard said in a voice. Lyra cried. Her hands were shaking really badly and her face was all dirty, with ash and blood. "Please," she said, "you have to look at the girl. The girl is freezing. She has been poisoned and the girl needs a healer." Lyra said, "The girl really needs a healer." A metal fist hit her in the face. The metal fist was really hard. It struck her face with a lot of force. The metal fist made her face hurt a lot when it struck her face. The stars exploded behind her eyes. Then she fell into the mud. There was blood filling her mouth. The mud was around her, it was dirty and it smelled bad. The stars that exploded behind her eyes made her feel really dizzy. She had blood in her mouth from the stars exploding behind her eyes and falling into the mud. The air changed then. It was like something was different all of a sudden. The air really changed. The world seemed to bow down to something. The world just seemed to stop and bow. It was like the whole world was bowing. Something came down. It felt really old and incredibly heavy and completely in control. This presence was ancient. It was crushing and it was absolute. The presence was so strong that it felt like nothing could stop it. King Veilric Nocturne walked into the courtyard. He took a look around King Veilric Nocturne. The courtyard was really nice. King Veilric Nocturne liked it. King Veilric Nocturne thought it was a place to be. The man was really tall. He was wearing armor with red symbols of blood on it. His crown looked like in Scary Night. The man had eyes that were shining brightly under his dark eyebrows, and they were filled with so much anger that it was hard to breathe when you looked at the man and his red eyes and his black armor. The man and his armor and his crown were all very intimidating. My daughter. The guard dropped to one knee instantly. He did this quickly. The guard just fell to one knee. The guard was down on one knee in a split second. This happened fast. Veilric took the baby into his arms. He held the infant close. To him the infant was a baby that Veilric was now holding. Veilric was taking care of the infant that Veilric had just taken into his arms. For a heartbeat, the king was no monster, only a father. Then his gaze lifted up. He looked at something. The man's eyes were on something now. His gaze was lifted. The thing landed on Lyra. He said to the person you in a voice. That one word felt like it was the end for me. The word itself was all it took to make everything feel hopeless. The single word really felt like a death sentence. She tried to crawl. My king. Please do not be angry with me. I really did save her. I am telling you the truth, my king. I swear it is the truth, my king. Veilric said that you treated blood like trash. He spoke in a voice, but it was very dangerous. You threw away my family's legacy. Now it is ruined. No, she cried out loud. I found the woman there. The man's hand moved. His hand actually moved. It was a movement, but the man's hand moved. A sharp pain cracked through her skull when the blow hit her and sent her falling down again. The blow was so hard that it made her skull hurt a lot. Her head was spinning and she felt like she was going to pass out from the pain of the blow. Veilric said, that is enough, in a voice. Take her to the cells. He told them he wanted her to be in the black cells. Lyra was really upset. She screamed at him as he turned away and followed the healers. Lyra was crying hard that tears were streaming down her face. She screamed after him, calling out to him through her tears. The healers were trying to help Lyra. She was screaming for him. I saved her. It is a feeling to know that I was able to help the woman in need, the woman I saved. The iron doors just took her words in and they were gone. The iron doors did not let her words come out again. The iron doors swallowed her words completely. The black cells were colder than death. Lyra lay on the stone. It felt cold against her skin. The stone was taking the warmth from her bones. Every breath she took was shallow. It hurt. Time seemed to be passing slowly. She was getting hungrier and hungrier. Lyra's hope was fading away. The hunger was eating away at her. Lyra's hope was getting thinner and thinner. She wasn't a villain. The girl was born into a life where she owed people money. She was doing what she could to get by. She had to work every day to make a living and pay off the debt that had been passed down to her. The girl had a life, but she was trying to make the best of it. The palace staff dragged her through the palace days later. They did not take her through the service tunnels like they usually do with people like her. They took her through the hall where all the fancy people walk. The nobles were whispering to each other. The faces of the people who saw her were twisted with disgust. The nobles and the people in the hall looked at her with disgust. They dragged her, the girl, through the hall of the palace. A maid actually dared to touch the blood of royalty. This is a big deal because the royal blood is very special. The maid must have been very brave to touch something that belongs to the family. The royal blood is something that you do not touch unless you are supposed to. That woman should be punished severely. She should be flayed. The woman in question should be flayed. She looks really dirty. The woman looks like she has not taken a bath in a time. Her appearance is very dirty. It is very noticeable that she looks filthy. Veilric was sitting on the throne. He watched as she got down on her knees in front of him. The woman was. Veilric was looking at her. Veilric saw the woman kneel at the throne where he was sitting. Seraphine stood beside him. Her eyes were red. She was crying, but the tears were not real. They were tears, and you could tell that Seraphine was not really sad. She was just pretending to be upset. The tears were a part of her act. Seraphine had tears in her eyes. They were false tears. Seraphine said that the woman tried to take the child. She did not get away with it because Seraphine got there in time. The child was safe because of Seraphine. Lyra said quietly, her voice was shaking. She asked, "Why would I ask for help if I was going to hurt someone? That does not make sense. I did not do anything, I swear. Please, you have to believe me, I am telling the truth. I would not scream for help if I meant to cause trouble. That is just not something I would do." Lyra felt like she was going to cry. She was so upset. Lyra wanted to know why nobody believed her. There was no sound when she spoke, so silence answered her. Lyra was thrown back into darkness. Cried until her tears just stopped coming. The darkness was really scary for Lyra. Lyra felt alone, and that is why Lyra was crying so much. Lyra could not stop thinking about how sad Lyra was. Something was happening up above her. It was starting to crack. The princess screamed every time Seraphine came near her in the nursery. She would scream loud. It was very scary. This happened every time Seraphine approached the princess in the nursery. The princess did not like it when Seraphine was near her. She only felt calm when the healers whispered the name of Jesus. No, that is not it. She only felt calm when the healers whispered one name. The healers whispered one name. She was okay. The name that the healers whispered was the one that calmed her down. She was upset. The healers knew what to do. They whispered one name. She was calm. The healers whispered the name. Made her feel better. She felt calm when the healers said the name. The name that the healers whispered was special. It was the one thing that could calm her down. She only calmed down when the healers whispered one name. Lyra. And deep within the Crimson Palace, the Vampire King began to remember how the maid had held his child. Not as power, not as leverage, but as life. The blood remembers. The scream echoed through the royal nursery like a blade dragged across glass. Princess Nysera Nocturne arched in her cradle, tiny fists clenched, crimson eyes glowing brighter with every breath. The moment a healer stepped away, the infant howled again, raw, desperate, inconsolable. Again, one of the healers whispered nervously. "She only calms when we say the name," another finished quietly. Seraphine Drac stiffened. "Don't be absurd," she snapped, forcing a smile that did not reach her eyes. "She is a royal infant. She reacts to energy, not superstition." Yet the moment the name was spoken, Lyra, the child went still. Her breathing steadied. Her tiny fingers relaxed, grasping the air as if reaching for someone unseen. The healers exchanged glances they dared not voice aloud. In the Crimson Realm, blood instinct was sacred. It did not lie. Far below the palace, Lyra Vale no longer counted the hours. The black cells had no light, only cold stone, dripping water, and silence that crushed the soul. Her cheek throbbed where the king had struck her. Her wrists burned from iron restraints. Hunger twisted painfully in her stomach. But worse than pain was the not knowing. Is she alive? Did I save her, or doom her? The slot in the cell door scraped open. Instead of thin gruel, a small bundle slid across the stone. Warm bread. A dried apple. "Eat quickly," a whisper hissed. Lyra crawled forward, tears filling her eyes. "Kara?" she whispered. "Yes," came the hushed reply. "The kitchen maid saw you with the baby. You didn't have the face of a killer. You had the face of someone protecting." Lyra clutched the food with shaking hands. "Is the princess?" "She lives," Kara said softly. "But the palace is boiling. Seraphine has the king's ear. Anyone who questions her disappears." Hope fluttered painfully in Lyra's chest. Then Kara added, barely audible, "The baby cries when Seraphine touches her. She calms only when your name is spoken." Lyra pressed her forehead to the stone and sobbed. Above, King Vaelric Nocturne stood alone in his private study. Maps of conquered realms lay spread before him, yet his eyes were unfocused. Reports littered his desk, whispers, inconsistencies, unease. The healer's words echoed in his mind. Blood instinct. He remembered the way Lyra had held Nysera, arms wrapped protectively, body bent to shield her from cold, filth ignored entirely. A knock sounded. "Enter." Master Alric, the oldest royal blood healer, bowed deeply. His voice trembled, not with fear but concern. "My king, the poison in the princess's blood is not common." Vaelric's eyes sharpened. "Explain." "It is a blood-binding sedative," Alric said carefully. "Used only by those with access to restricted apothecaries. Designed to silence royal infants during transport." Silence fell like a blade. "Could a maid obtain it?" Vaelric asked. "No," Alric said. "Not without authorization." Vaelric's jaw tightened. The next morning, Lyra was dragged from her cell again. But this time there were no insults. No blows. They led her through unfamiliar corridors, narrow, guarded, quiet. She trembled. This is it, she thought. Execution. The doors opened into the royal nursery. Warm light flooded her eyes. She barely had time to gasp before the cry began. Nisra screamed the instant Lyra entered, then stopped. Her crimson gaze locked onto Lyra's face. A sound escaped the infant's lips, soft, broken, unmistakable. R.A. The room froze. Veilric turned slowly. Lyra collapsed to her knees. My king, please. I don't ask mercy for myself. I only ask that you believe I would never harm a child. Veilric stepped closer. Nisra reached toward Lyra, tiny fingers opening and closing. She remembers you, Veilric said quietly. Lyra swallowed. I held her because she was cold. Because she was alone. Something shifted behind the king's eyes, an emotion buried beneath centuries of rule. Seraphine stepped forward sharply. Majesty, blood instinct can be manipulated. Enough, Veilric said. His gaze never left Lyra. Return her to the cells, he ordered after a long pause. But increase her rations. And no further harm. Seraphine's smile cracked. That night, Veilric stood beside his daughter's cradle. Nisra slept peacefully for the first time. He whispered the maid's name. And the baby smiled. The shadows began to turn. The palace had learned how to whisper. Not aloud, never openly, but in the pauses between footsteps, in glances exchanged over bowed heads, in the way servants lingered just a heartbeat longer near closed doors. Something was wrong. And everyone felt it. Seraphine Drax felt it most of all. She stood before the tall mirror in her chambers, fingers trembling as she adjusted her silver circlet. Her reflection smiled back, perfect, composed, but behind her eyes, fear coiled like a serpent. The child cried for the maid. The healers whispered. The king hesitated. That was dangerous. She clenched her fists. That girl should have died in the ashes. Lyra Vale awoke to warmth. For the first time since the dungeon swallowed her, the stone beneath her was not frozen. A blanket, clean, heavy, covered her shoulders. Her cell smelled faintly of herbs. She sat up, heart racing. Someone had been there. Her ration tray held real food. Bread. Stew. Water that did not taste of rust. A miracle in the black cells. When the guard passed, she dared speak. Why? She whispered. The young sentinel did not look at her. Orders. From whom he did not say. But Lyra knew. King Veilric Nocturne had not slept. He stood on the high balcony overlooking the city, watching the night bleed into dawn. For 4 centuries he had ruled by certainty. His judgments were swift, final, unquestioned. Yet now, he remembered Lyra's voice. I held her because she was alone. The words clung to him like a wound. Behind him, Master Alric approached quietly. My king, the healer said, there is more. Veilric turned. The poison, Alric continued. Its signature matches a vial missing from the restricted vault. Logged out under high caretaker authorization. Silence. Then Veilric spoke, dangerously calm. Bring me the ledger. Seraphine's control began to unravel. She dismissed servants for imagined slights. She doubled guards around the nursery. She demanded the maid's execution be scheduled. She is a stain, Seraphine insisted during council. The people must see justice. Veilric said nothing. He merely watched her. And Seraphine mistook silence for victory. Deep in the servants' quarters, rebellion stirred, not with weapons but with truth. They're lying about her, Kara whispered. I saw Lyra run screaming for help. She gave her own warmth, another maid added. She nearly froze. They won't listen, someone said. She's only a maid. But that word, only, no longer sounded certain. Lyra was summoned again. This time no chains. She was led to the inner sanctum, Veilric's private study. The doors closed behind her with a soft finality. She dropped to her knees immediately. My king. Stand, Veilric commanded. She obeyed, shaking. He studied her closely, her bruises, her thin frame, the way she flinched despite trying to be brave. Why did you not run? He asked. Lyra blinked. Run? You could have left the palace, he said. You could have let the child die and saved yourself. Her voice trembled, but her words did not. Because someone once left me. The admission hung between them. Veilric felt something twist in his chest. She was crying, Lyra continued softly. And no one should be thrown away. For a long moment, the vampire king said nothing. Then he turned away. You will remain under protection, he said. You will not be harmed. Lyra bowed, tears spilling silently. That night, Seraphine made her move. The dungeon alarms rang. A fire broke out near the cells. An accident, Seraphine declared loudly. Tragic. But when Veilric arrived, smoke choking the halls, his eyes burned with fury. Where is the maid? He demanded. Guards hesitated. She was moved, one said. To where? Silence. Veilric moved faster than sound. He tore open cell doors, shattered locks, followed the scent of fear and blood, and found Lyra collapsed in a side corridor, smoke burning her lungs. Without hesitation, he lifted her into his arms. The palace watched. The servants watched. The Crimson Realm held its breath. The king carried a maid like something precious. When the truth walks into the light, it is an amazing thing. The truth is something that we should always be looking for. Sometimes the truth walks into the light. It changes everything. We have to be ready for the truth to walk into the light because it can be very surprising. The truth walking into the light is what we need to make decisions. The truth is very important. We have to make sure that the truth is always walking into the light. We have to be honest with each other and let the truth walk into the light. The truth walking into the light is what makes us people. When the truth walks into the light, we can finally see what is really going on. The truth is what sets us free. It is what we need to be happy. The palace was wide awake the night. It was not sleeping all. The palace was up and about that night. Smoke was still hanging around in the stone corridors. It was curling up like a warning to people. At the time, whispers were spreading really fast, even faster than the guards could move. The servants were looking out from the doorways trying to see what was going on. The nobles had gathered behind the velvet curtains talking quietly among themselves. The smoke and the whispers and everything, everyone had seen it. Every single person had seen the smoke. Heard the whispers. The Vampire King had a maid in his arms. He was holding her. The Vampire King was very strong. The maid was lucky to be held by the Vampire King. The Vampire King was taking care of the maid, and not as a prisoner. Lyra Vale went in and out of being awake, the smell of burned clothes and blood stuck in her lungs. She finally opened her eyes, found that she was not in the dark prison cells anymore. Lyra Vale looked around trying to remember how she got there. She did not see the black cells that Lyra Vale was used to. She was in silk. The soft sheets felt really good on her aching body. The candlelight was moving up and down slowly. The room was warm. It was too warm to be a dungeon. It was also too fancy to be a room for a servant. The soft sheets and warm room made her feel a little better. The candlelight was nice too. The woman tried to sit up and she felt a pain, so she winced. Do not move. The voice was really deep. It sounded like the person was in complete control. It was a voice that you could not mistake for anyone's voice. The voice was deep. King Veilric Nocturne was standing near the window. His arms were crossed behind his back. King Veilric Nocturne was looking at the city outside. He did not turn around when King Veilric Nocturne started talking. You breathed in smoke. That is not good for you. Your body is telling you that it needs to rest. When you inhale smoke, your body gets tired. It needs time to recover. So your body needs rest. Lyra swallowed hard. She said, "Why am I here?" Veilric finally faced her. She was standing in front of Veilric. Veilric looked at her. Then Veilric saw the look on her face. The moment Veilric had been waiting for was here. Veilric was face to face with her. The man said to me, "This happened because someone tried to silence you." He then added, "And they did not succeed in silencing you." She felt like she could not breathe for a moment. Her breath caught. Veilric went on to say, "I looked into the matter and what I found out is not good for the person who is accusing you." Seraphine Drax was standing in front of the High Council. She had her back straight. Her chin was up high. Her eyes were really sharp and alert. The High Council was a deal and Seraphine Drax was ready to face them. The lady said that the maid tried to get. She said this in a calm voice. The maid tried to escape. The fire was a thing that happened at the same time. The lady thought the fire was a distraction when the maid tried to escape. Murmurs went through the room. The people started to whisper to each other. Soon the murmurs got louder. There were murmurs in the room. The doors opened. Veilric walked into the room. The room was completely quiet all of a sudden. The room just stopped making any noise. It was like that in the room. The room fell silent instantly. He told them to show him the ledger. The man wanted to see the ledger for himself. He was asking for the ledger to be presented to him. The ledger was what he wanted to look at. Master Alric stepped forward. He put a really big and heavy book on the table made of obsidian. The table was made of Master Alric put the heavy book right on it. The apothecary log, Auric said. We are missing some sedative from the apothecary log. The restricted apothecary log has a signed authorization. It is signed by Seraphine Drax. People let out breaths of surprise. Gasps erupted. Seraphine's smile got a little tighter. She said, forgery. Veilric lifted his hand up in the air. He was moving slowly. Veilric wanted to make sure everyone saw what he was doing with his hand. Veilric just kept his hand there for a moment. A second guard stepped forward. The guard said that the people who were supposed to be watching the East Wing were sent else for 20 minutes on the night the princess disappeared. This happened because Seraphine told them to do it. The room was really quiet. Then it was like a big secret was shared and everyone started talking in soft voices. The chamber exploded in whispers. It was a feeling like the chamber was filled with people talking really quietly all of a sudden. Seraphine's eyes moved fast. She said that woman is not telling the truth. She said this in an angry way. The maid is the one who tricked all of the people, she continued to say. Veilric said to bring the child. The doors to the nursery opened. Princess Nisra was carried into the room. They brought Princess Nisra in. Someone had to carry Princess Nisra. The moment Seraphine stepped forward, the baby let out a loud scream. It was a sound the infant was totally terrified and it sounded very violent. The scream from the infant was so shrill that it was almost painful to hear. Seraphine was there when the infant screamed like that. When Lyra was brought in, she was really pale. She was shaking a lot. Lyra looked like she was in a state. The way Lyra was shaking was very noticeable. Nisra reached out for Nisra's friend. She really wanted to touch her hand. Nisra was trying to get her attention. Nisra stretched out her arm to grab her. The sound she made was not a cry. It was something. The woman made this sound. It was very quiet. The sound the woman made was not loud like a cry. It was recognition. Blood instinct. Unbreakable. Sacred. Absolute. Seraphine took a step back. She was really stumbling now. Her feet felt like they were not on the ground. Seraphine was completely losing her balance. Seraphine staggered back. The woman said no quietly. Veilric's voice was really low and serious. It was like he was judging someone. Veilric's voice had a lot of weight to it. When Veilric spoke like that, you knew Veilric was not happy. Guards. Seraphine lost her rank before the sun even came up. They took away Seraphine's rank early in the morning before sunrise. This happened to Seraphine. Exiled, disgraced, her name erased from palace records. The servants saw what was happening. They could not believe it. They were watching to see if justice would really happen. The servants had eyes because they were so surprised. They were watching justice unfold. It was very surprising to the servants. People thought that a maid was telling the truth. A maid was someone that people believed in. Lyra stood alone on the balcony later, wrapped in a cloak that was really too fancy for someone like her. The woman said that she never wanted to have power. She said this in a voice. Veilric was standing next to her. The man said, I know. The silence was really comfortable. It felt heavy and intimate. The silence between us was very intimate. The man finally spoke up. Said, you saved my daughter. Then he added, you saved something else. The woman looked up at the man. She really looked up at the man. What? He said that his faith is what he believes in. For the time his hand was really close to her hand, but he did not touch her hand. But choosing. The throne does not stand by itself. It is surrounded by the people who support it and the things that hold it up. The throne is like a symbol of power. It needs other things to make it strong. The throne does not stand alone because it needs a foundation to rest on and people to believe in it. Without these things, the throne is a chair. The throne really does not stand alone. The Crimson Realm did not change overnight. It took a time for things to be different in the Crimson Realm. People who lived in the Crimson Realm saw that it was not a process. The Crimson Realm was still the Crimson Realm. Some things were new. It started to breathe in a way. The breathing of it was not the same as before. It began to breathe. The palace halls, which were once really scary and super quiet, now had something in the air. Oh. The servants were walking around with their heads held high and their backs a little straighter. The guards were being really gentle when they talked near the nursery. Even the nobles, who had always thought they were better than everyone, had learned something that made them feel pretty bad. The palace halls were filled with hope now. The nobles had to get used to a way of thinking after being in charge for so long. That was not easy for the nobles. Power had really listened to kindness. The power was very open to kindness. This is what happened when power listened to kindness. Kindness had managed to survive. The kindness was still there. Lyra Vale stood at the edge of the royal gardens watching as the dawn came up and painted the stone in pretty colors like rose and gold. Lyra Vale was still wearing clothes. They were clean and fixed, but you could tell they were not fancy. With all the things that had happened to Lyra Vale, she did not ask for anything more. What really bothered the court was that. The court was very upset about that. That is what the court could not understand. She had been offered chambers and jewels and a high rank. The chambers were very nice. The jewels were beautiful. She would also get a rank. The offer included these things. Asterisk chambers. Asterisk jewels. Asterisk a rank. She had been offered all these things, the chambers and the jewels and the high rank. She accepted one thing. The thing she accepted was very important to her. The one thing she accepted was something that mattered a lot to the woman, and that was the thing that she accepted. The woman wants to stay close to the child she had saved. She thinks it is only fair that she gets to stay near the child she had saved. The child she had saved is very important to her. Princess Nisera is sleeping in Lyra's arms now. She is warm and peaceful. Her tiny fingers are curled around Lyra's thumb. The baby Princess Nisera trusts Lyra completely. She does not care that Lyra is not a family member by blood. Princess Nisera also does not care about Lyra's title or what she can do for her. Veilric stood far away and watched. He wanted to see what was going on with Veilric's eyes. Veilric was very careful not to get too close. The Vampire King sat on his throne. For the first time in a very long time, he did not feel like he was by himself. The Vampire King actually felt like he had some company, which was a big deal for the Vampire King. The man walked up quietly. He did not make a sound when he approached. The man was very quiet. The man told me that I should rest. He said this to me. The man said that resting is what I should do. Lyra smiled a bit. She will not sleep without me being with her. The girl needs me to be around so that she can fall asleep. She will not sleep without me. The man said, I know. Lyra and Veilric stood together in silence. The morning breeze lifted Lyra's hair. Veilric saw things about Lyra that he had never seen before. He saw the scars on Lyra's hands. He saw the exhaustion that Lyra carried without saying a word. Veilric also saw the strength of Lyra that had never asked to be noticed. The quiet strength of Lyra was something that Veilric had never really seen before. He said this to me suddenly. The palace really owes the person a lot more than keeping them safe. The palace owes this person more than protection. She looked at him really surprised. She said, and where exactly are we going to go? He said that he can go anywhere. The place has to be free. It has to be safe. Anywhere is fine long as it is free and safe. Lyra thought about this for a moment. Then she slowly shook her head. I do not need to be free if that means I have to leave someone behind who still needs my help. Freedom is not that important to me if someone is still counting on me to be there for them. I will stay with the people who need me because they are more important to me than being free. Something inside Veilric finally broke open. It was like a door had swung wide and everything was different now. Veilric felt this change down. Something inside Veilric had been locked away for a time and now it was free. Not rage. Not grief. Something softer. More dangerous. Love, growing not from desire but from respect. The announcement really shocked the realm of people. This was a surprise to everyone in the realm. The realm was totally caught off guard by the announcement. Not because of its words, but because of its meaning. Lyra Vale did not get to be crowned. The crown was not given to Lyra Vale. The woman did not get a name. The woman was like everyone else. She was not better than others. She did not have any status that would put her above the other people around her. The woman was a regular person, no more and no less, and that is what made her the same as everyone else. The woman was recognized for what she did. She really was acknowledged by everyone. The woman was given the credit she deserved. People knew that she was acknowledged. The Vampire King said so, and that is how she became the guardian of the royal heir. This is an important job, and it is even older than any other title in the Crimson Realm. People only get to be the guardian of the royal heir if they are willing to give something up. It is not something you can get because of who your family is or because you want to fight for it. The guardian of the royal heir has to care about the royal heir and be willing to do what it takes to keep them safe. The nobles were really upset. They protested. Veilric gave them a look. They just stopped talking. Veilric did not have to say a word. One look from Veilric was enough. He said to me that she was standing in the spot where I had turned my back. If that fact makes me feel scared or worried, then that means I was never really meant to have any power in the place. The fact that she stood where I turned away is what really gets to me. Justice was really quiet. It did not make a noise at all. Justice just stayed silent. The thing just stood there calmly and it did not move at all. It was completely still. The thing just stood calmly. Time went by. Then it passed. Nisera is getting better and stronger now. The bad poison is all gone from her body. She can laugh without any worry. Nisera laughs a lot when Lyra sings softly to Nisera at night. It makes Nisera really happy. Veilric would usually stand at the doorway for a bit. He did not want to come right away. Valeric liked to hang around the doorway. People would talk sometimes. The people would have conversations. Sometimes the people spoke to each other. Sometimes the people did not do things. The people just did not do things sometimes. The bond between Valeric and Lyra got stronger when they looked at each other, when Valeric kept Lyra safe without saying a word, and when Valeric stood between Lyra and anything that might hurt her. Valeric always did this in a way that was not obvious, so Lyra would not notice what Valeric was doing to protect her. The way Valeric looked out for Lyra and kept her safe from harm really showed how much Valeric cared about Lyra. One evening the moon came up. It looked really red over the towers. At that moment Lyra asked the question that had been on her mind for a time. She had been thinking about this question in her heart. Now she finally said it out loud. The question was something Lyra had been wanting to ask for a while. She said this quietly. She wanted to know why it had to be her. I mean, there are a lot of people in this realm. So why did it have to be her? Valeric did not wait to think about it, he just answered away. He said, when you did not have any power you still chose to be kind. I had forgotten what that was like. He got down on his knees. He did this as a person, not as a king. He put his hand on top of the woman's hand. He told me that he will never tell my heart what to do. If I decide to stay with him, the music man, then I will never be by myself again, because the music man will be there for me. Lyra's eyes got all teary. The woman did not get down on her knees. She stood up straight. Did not kneel. The woman just stood there. She did not kneel. The woman did not bow down. She just stood there. Did not bow. The woman did not bow. The woman reached for the man. She really wanted to touch the man. The woman stretched out her hand to grab the man. And that was enough. The Crimson Realm is going to remember this story for a long time, probably for generations to come. People in the Crimson Realm will be talking about this story for generations. The story will be passed down in the Crimson Realm for generations. Not as a romance born of magic or fate, but as a truth. That even in a world ruled by monsters, humanity could teach kings how to be better.